Howdy folks, and welcome to the Next Level Games Eternal Masters event. We're here for the Australian 7-point Highlander. This is an Australian-only format. It is played in there has been a couple of events overseas.
A few, yeah.
In New Zealand, but this is a purely Australian format here, using a restricted list, so it's singleton, and with 7 points available to any particular deck. We're going into round 3 now. And we do have Jeremy Neiman, former Pro Tour player, Jeremy Neiman on Storm. And he's going to be facing Robert Luck on the Blue-Black Tinker deck. So they're ready to start. We're going to just jump down into the event. And we're going to see what happens.
Some games of Magic, I hope.
Hopefully some games of Magic. Robert Luck has obviously won the die roll now. The Blue-Black Tinker deck's using, obviously, Tinker as his primary points. That's going to be costing him 4 of the possible 7 points he has in his deck. And with that, he's getting in things like, against most blue decks, he's going to want to bring in the Stormtide Leviathan. Not Stormtide Leviathan.
Stormblood Kirk? Berserker. Stormblood Berserker, was that? No.
No, that's a completely different list. So he's going to bring in things like, hello, Sophus, we had you yesterday. He's going to be bringing in things like Wormcoil Engine to get the life total up. He's going to be bringing in other big artifacts, particularly in the second game. He can bring in Trinisphere, which is going to be very, very, very good against Jeremy Neiman's playing Storm. Storm being a very, very difficult deck to play in Highlander. Obviously, you're trying to chain 10 spells together, followed by a Tendrils. And his points are obviously Black Lotus being 4. He has elected to not go with the usual other 3 points being Yawgmoth's Will. He's chosen with this particular one to go for a more Auriok Salvages style list, and he's also playing Mana Vault, Balance, and Yawgmoth's Bargain. Yawgmoth's Bargain recently reduced down to only 1 point from the previous 2, which meant, a lot of decks have stopped playing the old Yawgmoth's Will Lotus builds. On the other list, we do have Lachlan Ward-Smith on Academy, and now this is a very, very cool deck, and hopefully we'll be able to see that soon. The Academy deck, obviously running Academy, all the untap effects, all the draw 7s, mono blue, just trying to get enough mana to either brain freeze his opponent, make him draw infinite cards. Yep. And he's going to be playing against, well, one of the big decks in the tournament, being Bant Clamp. Obviously a lot of guys with 1 power, just clamping them for value and then hopefully drawing enough cards to just completely outplay your opponent. We have a Tezzeret the Seeker coming down for Jeremy Neiman. This is a very odd choice for the Storm list. It's not usual that that card comes in, or is even in the main deck, let alone in the board.
Yeah, that's very odd.
Yes, Jeremy Neiman, the Louis Scott Vargas nemesis. Louis Scott Vargas put a couple of points out saying that, yes, he thought that Neiman was one of his worst matchups, going 0-4, I believe, in their first 4 rounds. But that could just be completely wrong.
Possibly. I have no idea. So, Vintage was won...
So the Vintage was won by Jacob Dunn on Espresso Stacks, defeating the Bomberman playing Graham King. Graham King losing again in the very finals of the Legacy event on Rug Delver to another Matthew Vaughan on Burn. So it was just straight up red Burn. Managed to take out our 67-player Legacy event.
But coming second twice is pretty good.
Consistency is key. Yeah. He did lose his first round of the Vintage to come second, and he's lost his first round of Highlander, so he's hoping to do the same.
Yeah. Is this an almost Master of Masters? Is that the new title for him, maybe?
Master of Masters, hopefully. Just by turning up, he's got a pretty good chance of getting that. Okay, Necropotent's coming down. One of my favourite and one of the strongest cards in the Storm deck, able to just refill your hand turn after turn after turn. Only costing a Dark Ritual usually, but in this case it's managed to cost getting a Tezzeret in play also is really helping him just smooth out his mana. He can use that Tezzeret to go get mana sources. He can use that Tezzeret to basically get anything he wants. Okay, so we've got the mana leak, we've got the worm coil engine. Unfortunately, Tinker basically Robert having to brainstorm that back in if he wants to be able to go for it. Otherwise, the Thirst for Knowledge can discard it. And the card I was looking for earlier and was slipping my mind was Inkwell Leviathan.
Oh, Inkwell Leviathan. Right, okay.
Which would, against a lot of blue decks, be very relevant with its island walking. It is island walking against Jeremy also, but he's not going to be playing any creatures that can block it anyway.
No.
Unless he can go for the Empty the Warrens.
That's also possible. There's a lot of blue on the field today.
Yes, so the most played colour combination by far is blue, red, white today, with 8 players bringing control variants in those 3 colours, most of them running Moon and Magus of the Moon. 4 of them also electing to run the Splitter Twin combo. The Splitter Twin combo is very, very nice in Highlander because it does have two sides, but 2 cards that are completely interchangeable. It doesn't matter which of the untap effects you have, doesn't matter which of the dudes you have, as long as you have one of each. And some of them are even using the white to play Village Bellringer for an extra dude and Restoration Angel to be able to do it again.
Yes, magic cards.
Yep, Neiman just trying to get his mana out here. Looks like he has only 1 land. Nope. For those not aware, that land is... I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it comes into play tapped. It taps for black, and he can sacrifice it for 2 black. Tap and sack for 2 black. Ebon's Stronghold? Maybe? Unless that's his Ancient Spring. Yeah, Ebon's Stronghold, thank you, Lost Wandering. Lost Wandering, Ebon's Stronghold is actually played in a couple of decks in this format. It's also played in the not usually seen Balance deck, just as a land that can tap for mana, but can also get itself off the field for when Balance resolves. Okay, and there's a back to basics coming down here from Lark, shutting out his own Underground Sea. But that Ebon Stronghold never being able to get mana, that Underground Sea most likely will not be untapping. Okay, he's cracking his egg here to make blue and black and draw another card. That is a Dark Water Egg. I believe this uses at least 2 of the eggs and a number of stars and spheres just to run through its deck when it does have a lot of mana. Sky Cloud Egg, Dark Water Egg, Chromatic Star, Chromatic Sphere. Sensei's Divining Top, just plenty of things that can create mana or look at extra cards. Okay, so it looks like he's untapped his artifact sources with Tezzeret, giving him plenty of mana. Now he just needs to work that way into some sort of engine card. Frantic Search will allow him to untap his lands and keep digging, or a Tutor, and there we see Grim Tutor. Grim Tutor, a portal card that... No, a Starter 1999 card. I actually had one of those once, and back when I first started playing Magic, I got one of those sets. I remember having Grim Tutor, and then just lost it many, many years later.
Oh.
Okay, and this is basically game here for Neiman. He's able to make infinite mana, and he does have the egg that he can use to draw through his entire deck.
Yep.
He's just going to draw until he finds Tendrils, and Robert Lark is going to pull up, just pick up his cards.
Yeah, he's probably seen that go off and doesn't need proof of it happening.
Yeah, the Aureox Salvages is an interesting addition because it basically requires you to already have Lotus. A lot of the older Storm lists did not use it, and Aureox Salvages is a 50-50 chance on seeing play in any deck that Lotus is being played. I remember playing Channel with Lotus, and that's Channel Lich's Mirror, and you just played the Aureox Salvages because every now and then you could just Mind's Desire for 400. and kill your opponent right then and there. For those who have just joined us, this is Australian 7-point Highlander. 7-point Highlander is very similar to the German Highlander lists. It's basically one-offs, except the difference here is that there is a points list. Cards are given points between 1 and 4. Usually your tutors cost between 1 and 3, depending on how good they are. Yep. Your mystical tutor is worth 2 points. Your demonic tutor, your imperial seal, vampiric tutor are 3 points. Your 1 pointers as Skullclamp is worth 2 and is a very big player here today. But your big boys, the ones that are running over half their points, are Ancestral Recall, Black Lotus, and Tinker. 3 points, tutors, Moxen, Yawgmoth's Will, and then going down all the way to your 1 points, your Balance, Birthing Pod, Dig Through Time. All these cards that just increase consistency. Your 1 points are just really there for the consistency increase. Your 4 points are your big boys.
60 cards in the deck and 15 sideboard.
Yep, so standard kind of lists here in terms of deck building. It's just we use the singleton restriction and the points list.
Yep. Many mountains. Basic lands.
Okay, and so here we can see the Academy deck going off. That is actually a time reversal. Watch out, guys. Time reversal is going to spike in price, shall we say, when we see this.
That's everything being shuffled back up again.
Time reversal, a beautiful foil.
Yeah.
I seriously tell everyone that they need to get an M12 Fog and a foil and time reversal in foil, and you will have the most beautiful deck.
Yes, rather pretty.
So Lachlan Ward-Smith has written a primer on the deck that he's running here, the Academy deck. The Academy deck, obviously, its namesake, Tolarian Academy, and it is very similar to the older style Academy decks from Vintage and even Extended. And was Standard a thing when Academy was around?
I don't think so.
It was a very, very, very long time ago.
I know it's not standard legal now.
No, it's not standard legal now. So he's just going to draw cards and find his way into something that will allow him to really take control of the game. Obviously, he's running Frantic Search, other untapping effects that he can keep untapping his Academy. And he does use the draw 7s that allow his cards to stay in play. Time Twister, you've already seen Time Reversal there. Julian, on the other hand, playing a staple of the Australian 7-point Highlander metagame, which is basically Skullclamp and 1-power creatures. It is an amazing combo. The shell changes. It's usually 3 colors between Junk, Bant. Sometimes it's straight red-green. But using Mana Elves, powering out a high-power threat, and using little creatures. Okay, that's a Deserted Temple, which he can use to untap his Tolarian Academy. That is an amazing draw right there, especially considering he can use that to, EDH his way through the game. Just keep playing lands and spells. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Okay, so he's going to just add more artifacts to the board, most likely untap his Academy. So that's 5 artifacts that Academy can tap for there.
There he is counting them, just to make sure.
No, it's only 4. I'm able to count.
Is there...
Oh no, there might be something underneath the...
just in the middle of the table that we can't quite see. Maybe.
That's alright, we'll keep watching this through the combo. So he's going to use 3 of that, possibly 5 mana. Possibly 4 mana to go search for a 0 cost. Oh, Simic Growth. So that's a bounce land. He's going to play that, take 1 damage, bounce the Academy, replay the Academy. There's just more mana for him right now. And the Bant deck generally sometimes plays Force of Will, but the only other counterspell they tend to play is Mana Drain for the mana. increasing effect you can have there. And you can see the mana drain in Julian's hand just sitting there doing nothing.
Yep.
If you do need to go to, if you guys are interested in the format at all, you can go to Australian Eternal or OzEternal.com. There is the information there. There has been flitting around a few sites, but I think that's kind of the home for it at the moment, where you can get the most up-to-date information.
That's right. It gets updated too. We've got it on the chat there now for you. Eat it.
Okay, pondering his options here. He's going to continually take life from the fast bond, but just keep playing lands and just really out. Even if he doesn't win this turn,
you have a definitely good advantage.
Yeah, the Glacial Chasm will stop all those creatures from flying across.
Yeah.
JR White, Flash Hulk did see a lot of play quite a while ago, around the time of GP Flash and the years after that. At one point, it was considered so bad for the format that the combo was the only combo that was actually banned. Both the Flash and the Hulk were at 4 points each, meaning you weren't able to play them in the same deck. In the past 3 years, they've actually gone down a lot. I believe Flash is only
1 point or something, isn't it?
Flash is only 1 point, and the Hulk is nothing. But the big thing that changed in the years that since it was banned and since unbanned and the points went down is all the tutors went up in point.
Yeah.
Worldly Tutor, all those green 1-drop tutors no longer now have at least 1 point, causing that to go up. Vampiric went up. Imperial Seal went up. So the old deck, if you were to try and play it today, is thoroughly illegal. It's going to have something like 13 or 14 points. And so while you can play Flash Hulk today, it's much more a variation on the banned Skull Clamp decks that just happens to have the combo finish. Birthing Pod's a great sign for that also. Yep, so while Lachlan here is comboing through, we are going to jump back to table 1. And hopefully we'll get a result from there soon. That looks like an early Tasker's come down. Unless it's being... We can't see the graveyard, so we can't see exactly what was delved away there. And we can see that Jeremy has brought in a Disenchant from the sideboard. The sideboard of the Storm combo deck is very interesting. He has obviously your removal spells and Condemn, Path to Exile and Swords. But there's also some more interesting ones. Wall of Omens can come in just as a way to block. Tezzeret Aged of Bolas, if he doesn't think he's going to Storm combo, he can simply just play more artifacts and turn them into 5/5s. And then there's your usual Storm stuff in Abeyance and Graveyard Hate.
Yep. There's an update from the table is that he delved away some fetch lands to get in Taxiga.
Tasker representing quite a fast clock, really, and it can allow Robert to actually just get more cards into his hand. Put a couple cards in the graveyard if they're both counter spells. That's not something Jeremy wants to see.
No.
Jeremy being a sorcery speed deck, it's not like he can go off at instant speed, so being able to do that end of turn if Robert doesn't counter something can be very important. Peat Bog. Also, having that body is representing an actual clock for Jeremy. It means that
Yep.
Yawgmoth's Bargain, which he's paying a point for, is getting worse and worse every turn.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go for the emergency Necro, obviously that does result in him having to pass a turn again.
Mm.
And that's even better than Wasteland. The Venser coming down and bouncing the tapped
Yeah.
come into play tapped land.
Yep. Then you just have to play it again. Or play something different, but.
Shinder, I do believe that he is currently... Isaac Egan is playing in this event.
He's playing back.
And while I can't tell you what he's playing...
Oh, I mean, well...
I don't believe he's playing that...
No, he's playing something completely different. Oops. You didn't warn me about that.
That's alright.
There are a few people playing cards of Magic in this Highlander format.
Magic cards tend to see a lot of play in
Yes,
Magic
they
events. That's alright. We actually, strangely enough, we do have quite a heavy mud field today. We've got 5 mud players and 2 Tezzeret players, so there's a lot of big, high-costing artifacts being played right now.
There's 3 Kurgan players.
And that's the abeyance I was talking about coming in from the sideboard. Just telling Robert, you need to counter this or you're not countering anything else for the rest of the turn. Oh, that is nice. Should this resolve, that is very, very nice. Jeremy locked out of playing spells with a misdirection. What I'm waiting for right now is Caracas.
Yep.
Bounce my Venser
Yep.
after combat. Play it again. Bounce your... Bounce your Peatbog.
All of the bouncing.
On the left is straight blue. On the right, sorry, is straight blue-black Tinker. So unfortunately, no Caracas.
Oh. Surely you can just put it in there for value, right?
No, it's not worth the point anymore.
No.
The blue-black Tinker deck, well known for being able to just play the control deck against some. It's a very poor control deck against the true control decks, the USA decks, but against something that is trying to storm off, it can play a very good control role. Jeremy Neiman on to pondering his options. He does have 5 mana to play with this turn. He does have what looks like 4 or 5 unknown cards in his hand beyond simply the disenchant. But this is the last turn for him to go off. And being at 2 life makes that a lot harder.
Yeah.
Though at this point, Doomsday doesn't make him lose much life.
No, it's pretty good.
Okay, so that's an LED. That is a huge increase in his mana capabilities. However, it means that he's dead to a counterspell if he tries to crack that in response to a spell.
Yeah.
But you're on 2. I think you just go for it.
Yeah.
If he goes Ideas Unbound, crack for 3 black, something like that. Emptying his mana pool, getting rid of the Chrome Mox. Mind's Desire. Mind's Desire, not a card you want to see come out against you. Especially as a control player, because each of the copies needs to resolve individually. So if you want to stop it from happening at all, you need a Force of Will for each copy.
Yeah.
And if you want to stop the copies, you need forces and mental missteps counterspells for each of the copies if they do go through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much a no-win situation.
Yep. You basically really need a handful of counters then. Which is unlikely.
Inquisition, emptying. Thoughtseize, mostly irrelevant at 2 life.
Yeah. Unless he wants to give his opponent the win, but it's unlikely.
His opponent's showing him Cryptic. Do we know what Storm is at this point? He needs that preordained to find him something. Grim Tutor. All these tutors costing life.
Yep.
Are you going to counter my preordain? Lark electing not to counter the preordain when he knows his opponent has no cards in hand. That'll land at, is that 2 lands in his Mind's Desire pile? Or is it the Thoughtseize in the land? He has the 4 up for the... He hasn't been abayanced. And Tendrils.
Yep. There we go.
Okay, so
Demon takes the win.
Robert Lark obviously trying to play around something. Maybe he didn't realise that with Jeremy keeping the priority on the Lion's Eye Diamond, emptied his hand, had nothing against that Cryptic command.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, point it out, chat. But I think Robert Lark just gave away Game 2 and a potential Game 3 3-game win. But that's alright. We'll probably go back to that second table. I wonder if we are still comboing. So it looks like we are still in the same game for the other table. And we're going to jump over to them.
It's a lot of cards. Oh.
Okay, so we do have a memory jar representing another draw 7. Lachlan Ward Smith is on 7, so it looks like another 2 damage has gotten through. It was originally on. Unless this is still the same combo turn. Are we able to check with the floor that if this is the same combo turn? I don't think it is. No, we've got an additional land on Julian's turn.
Yep.
So it looks like he's cast the Eternal Witness, trigger on the stack, crack the memory jar. He'll get the memory jar back. Going for Transmute Artifact this turn, which is promptly eaten by the Scavenging Ooze. I'd love to know how much mana he's got right now, just sitting there.
Yep.
Okay, he now has infinite life. There's no mana coming out from Julian, which means he can infinitely sack a land and replay it. So he has infinite mana with his Tolarian Academy here. He just needs a draw spell or something to aim at Julian. The combo there is he can sacrifice it for 1 life, sacrifice it for 2 life, and replay it for 1 life with the fast bond. So every iteration of that will give him an additional life. And he's just getting infinite blue and green mana that we can see here. You do it again with the Makoroko, and he can use that to draw cards. Both players draw a card with Makoroko. Minusing 4 on Tezzeret immediately, not allowing his opponent to do anything. He's going to go get a 4 cost or less. Gets a 1 cost.
Candelabra of Thomas, is that?
That's plenty of mana. He's now going to use the Rings of Brighthearth. With his infinite mana, he's going to use the Rings of Brighthearth Sensei's Divining Top. So the Sensei's Divining Top taps to draw a card and puts another one on top. The Rings of Brighthearth says if you pay 2 for an activated ability, you can do that again. So he's going to draw through his whole deck here. Because the top goes on top, and then the second trigger resolves to draw it.
Yep.
You just play it again. Top, top, top rings, top rings, top rings. Drawing the top and 1. And he eventually finds the blue suns to actually kill his opponent with infinite mana. And that is a very long convoluted combo, and I love it.
Yes. And now we move on to game 2 when they've sideboarded appropriately.
Okay, so we'll just be bringing up their lists very quickly, and then we'll be able to see exactly what's going on there. If you've just tuned in, this is the Australian 7-point Highlander event. Australian 7-point Highlander. I believe one of our Canadian friends who was also in the chat earlier said to us that it was similar to their list, except they use 100 cards.
100 cards.
So it's a standard 60 card, 15 for the sideboard. 16 cards, 15 for the sideboard, with a points list restricting you to a total of 7 points. 4 points being your Black Lotus, your Ancestral Recall, all the way down to through your Moxen, Mana Crypt at 2, Dig Through Time, Force of Will at 1. And on the left here we have a staple of the format, Bant Clamp, which is using a lot of Mana Elves, using Findhorn Elves, Llanowar Elves, lots of things with just 1 toughness that will ramp him to bigger stuff in the early turns, and in the later turns he can just cash them in with a Skull Clamp.
Yep. Drawing all the cards.
All the cards. And on the right is one of the best decks in the room, the Academy. The only deck that can spend 25 minutes comboing off.
Yep.
At least Chandrils does it quickly.
Yeah.
One of the big decks for this format is actually Channel Lich's Mirror, and that's an even better one, and that it combos out by killing itself over and over and over again. It looks like we don't have much time left in the round, so Lachlan Ward-Smith on top is probably going to have a very, very good feeling about this.
Yep. 14 minutes left. A few minutes for sideboarding. And hopefully enough time for a combo or clamping.
Well, the Bant deck is slower than the usual Zoo decks, but if you go into like a Doran or something like that on turn 2, obviously not in the Bant list. In the Bant list we'll be looking at something like Strangleroot Geist on turn 2, Voice of Resurgence, True Name Nemesis, Vendilion Click. That'll be able to put enough time in. And I'm sure we'll get the names updated very quickly. Lachlan Ward-Smith on 101 Live. We do have 57 players here for our Australian 7-point Highlander, so it's been a very good turnout for this. I believe it's our best Masters turnout yet. And one of the highest attended Highlander events in years. Yes, Sophus. Geist of Saint Truff. We'll just check whether that's in the list. It usually is for the blue-white lists. No, it looks like he's not playing a Geist of Saint Truff. Much more reliant on the green sources and the green-based cards, green and white, rather than the blue-white. The blue is basically in there for Brainstorm, Mental Misstep, Daze, Evasive Action, Mana Drain, Bant Charm. And that's almost it in the main deck.
We're off to the races with the Noble Hierarch coming down for Julian.
Mishra's Workshop, one of the most powerful cards that to remain unpointed. It requires very, very specific decks to be played in 7-point Highlander. And it's interesting to see one in the Academy list.
There's true name.
And there's that true name Nemesis. So that's going to be attacking for 4 a turn, putting Lachlan on a 5-turn clock at this point, which is not huge. He's probably going to use that to untap the... Okay, so he can untap the blue source here and cast that transmute artifact for something in his hand if he wants.
Mm.
The defense grid really locking out Julian here for the time.
Mm.
Well, have fun, Sophus. We'll see you hopefully next time we run a Masters event. Good night. Julian Toe obviously going for the I'm just going to beat you down before you combo plan.
There's a 1/2 Goyf there, I think.
Yep, just a land. Defense grid, a 2-cost artifact that says to play spells on other people's turns, they must pay an additional 3, locking out counter spells on the early turns completely.
Yep.
And the counter spells he's worried about are obviously the mana drain, the daze, mental misstep, not so much, though it can have an effect. And even in the sideboard, there's very few counter spells. Or the negate.
Yep.
That Grim Monolith potentially representing 5 mana on itself with the Voltaic key. Lachlan Ward-Smith on the Academy deck, choosing not to include Time Vault, even though he's playing Voltaic Key and Tezzeret.
Yeah, sweet combo there.
Doesn't want to pay the 3 points. It would be cutting into the Tolarian Academy at 2, a Fast Bond at 1, Memory Jar, Twister, Time Spiral, and Mana Vault all at 1. So he doesn't want to get rid of 3 of those cards for the Time Vault.
Yeah, is reasonable.
And you're not going to get rid of the Academy because it is the Academy deck.
Yeah, the namesake.
So that's just the announcement for 10 minutes left in the round. Lachlan is up a game, so Julian, if he wants to draw, needs to win this quickly. And if he wants to win, needs to win this and an additional game in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Just looking at it, it looks like tournament logistics might be giving Lachlan this win.
Yeah.
Provided... And Julian can understand that. He's just throwing creatures down. Yeah. He's going to hit in nice and hard, and I'm sure we'll get that life total updated as soon as possible. Okay, that was the Academy in his hand, representing a lot of mana.
Yep.
Lachlan playing his second land for the game. 7 mana there. What can he do with it?
Dare I say, play some more magic cards? Or activate some abilities?
Is Julian playing Force? Because he does have the ability to pay a 0-cost counterspell, but he is not.
Yep. He's opted not to include that as a point in his 7.
Okay, using 2 of our blue, we're going to go grab an artifact and pay the difference between it and 2. So you'll pay an additional 3. And yes, the Deathrite Shaman was just cast, so that is summoning sick. Elvish Spirit Guide. I'm used to a very different board state when there's a shop and an academy on the
Yeah.
field. Usually are lots of spheres, maybe a
Yep,
Trinisphere, a Lodestone Golem.
Lodestone Golem, yep. Maybe a Porcelain Legionnaire.
Curse Totem. So that's going to come into play, shutting off all activated abilities of creatures. It's a null rod for creature abilities, so that Noble Hierarch cannot tap for mana now.
Yep.
Candelabra of Tornos has been errated. It is actually tap. So it cannot do that infinite times with the Tolarian Academy. The ruling with that is that it was an old mono artifact which could only be used once a turn.
Yep.
So when the big update came, what they did is they simply changed it to be 1 and tap.
Yep.
Or X and tap,
X,
sorry.
yeah. Unless he finds
More
something to
mana.
untap it.
Julian here completely locked out, just hoping that Lachlan could just continue to combo out, continue to make game actions for the next 7 minutes. Okay. I don't believe Lachlan is on 15. I think he's taken 2 hits from that True Name Nemesis and 1 from the Goyf. Even if the Goyf was only a 0-1, should be a bit lower than that. We'll get our box to check. Oh, True Name killed the Tezzeret.
Right.
Now, he doesn't have the fast bond here or any green. Julian Toe showing 6 lands and a daze.
Oh.
But it looks like Lachlan may need to pass the turn. He's got plenty of artifacts, but he has made his land drop for turn. Lachlan here just going through the motions, choosing to untap 3 of his lands.
Yep.
Hopefully trying to get that extra green mana may be relevant. Being able to cast more artifacts again at a cheaper cost may be relevant. Is that a Sylvok Replica? Sylvok Replica! Please tell me that is what that card is. Yep, Sylvok Replica. For those who are not there, it's a 2 cost? 3 cost? I think it's a 3 cost.
3 cost.
It is a 3 cost that has an activated ability of green and sacrifice it to destroy an artifact or enchantment. And that's a hard cast Ugin.
Oh my!
For what to do when you simply don't want to when you've got too much mana and nothing to do.
Yep, just chucking the Ugin out.
Just destroying every coloured permanent that costs 3 or less. That seems a pretty fair trade.
So
that or exiling, not destroying.
Yep.
Discarding Minamo, tapping a few more things, passing the turn. 6 lands and days, remember, for Julian. His turn needs to... His draw, top of the library, needs to be something good. Oh, and that was a Garruk. Relentless, I believe. So he can start making tokens again, but again, in the face of an Ugin and a blocker, I don't think days is that relevant anymore.
No. Memory jar hand. Yep.
Julian Toe obviously pointing out you have one more artifact than you thought. Minamo being able to draw him, both players, an extra card a turn. He did use that to combo out last turn, but he needed to have the Zurin Orb, he needed to have that, the Zurin Orb, and the Crucible to be able to continually replay that.
Yep.
Either Spell Bomb, draw a card. And Time Reversal, the M10 Time Twister. Bear in mind the Ugin here can just tick up, kill your dude,
Yep.
just lightning bolt it.
Yep.
And there's not much now that the Tarmogoyf is gone and the True Name Nemesis is gone that he's going to play that's going to have a bum big enough.
Yep, nope.
Tasiga, Restoration Angel. Kitchen Finks, kind of.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Although Tarmogoyf and True Name have been shuffled back into his library, so he could draw them again and play them, but
Correct.
chances of that are slim.
Okay, does it resolve? Yes. What am I sacking? Cursed Totem. All the creatures with activated abilities are gone. Go get rings. I've got plenty of mana. This way I can use the drawing again of Sensei's Divining Top. And that is a Teleria West in hand, so he can use his Academy mana to go get the Zurin Orb again. And then the only thing he needs to find is the Crucible.
Crucible, yep.
Okay, and we just got called for time in the round there, so Lachlan...
An extra 1 minute.
Oh, these guys do have an extra 1 minute, so if Julian can get the win within 60 seconds...
It'll be a draw, otherwise we'll go Woodsmith's way.
Just to reiterate for this match, we did see Jeremy Neiman defeat Robert Lark. The Storm deck at 3-0 did beat the Blue-Black Tinker deck, also... Yep. Oh, sorry, at 2-0 and 2-0 each. These players are both 2-0 in our event. It is a 6-round event, so they will be able to double ID in after this. And Lachlan Wardsmith takes it out over Julian.
Yep. Okay.
And there we go. Both of our matches there went 2-0. I'm Joshua Butler. I'm here with Laura Ellis.
Hello.
And we'll probably be back in, because time has been called, it's going to be probably only 5 minutes before our next round starts. So we're going to say goodbye and we'll see you soon. Howdy folks and welcome back to the Next Level Games Eternal Masters weekend. You're here with Joshua Butler and Laura Ellis.
Hello.
We're going to be watching a couple of matches going into round 4 of 6. So a winning in here means they're most likely going to be able to double ID their way into the top 8. We do have a couple of games here. We've got Dominic, who we're just going to check out what he's on. But on the main list we have Ken on Burn versus Lachlan Saunders on Mud. So the burn list is going to be absolutely amazing to watch. It's not just your average burn list with 40 burn spells and 20 mountains. We're playing the land Punisher version. So we've got Zozu the Punisher, we've got Ankh of Mishra, we have got all the good stuff coming today. So he's going to be playing against Mud, the big mana Mud list. So that's going to be playing the Mishra's Workshop, most likely. Yeah. But the points for that are all mana. Black Lotus, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt. He just wants to have big things in play very fast. So that's going to be our first table, and we're probably going to go down to that very quickly. So we're not going to go it down just yet. A couple of the other decks that have managed to go quite well today. Our other 9-pointers are Jeremy Neiman and Tim Hughes. We saw Jeremy Neiman in the last round on Storm. Tim Hughes is also playing a very nice list. He's on Kurgan. That's the blue-green control list, also known as Value Town.
Yep.
That's alright. And here we go, down onto the table. So we've got Keenan Kopek, who's not playing blue-black Tinker by the looks of that hand. He's actually playing the mono-red land Punisher version. And it looks like he's going to go down. Lachlan Saunders possibly deciding whether he wants to keep.
I just have to say Lachlan Saunders is spelled with the U, not an R. S-A-U-N-D.
Saunders.
Saunders.
Lachlan's from Massachusetts.
No, he's from Canberra, like me.
Oh, you're from Canberra?
Yes.
Oh, no, you've got to get out right now.
No. Yeah, this is where I say something about Canberra's the best. We have a whole rivalry thing.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is that Canberra only managed to put 3 players into the top 8 of the vintage event, where Melbourne was 4. No, Canberra was 1.
Yeah, well, I tried.
You tried. I tried also and failed miserably.
Yeah. Well, I was on the bubble and I just didn't sideboard properly because I thought he was on something completely different in round 5.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought he was playing...
You were playing Dredge, were you not?
Yeah, I was playing Dredge, and I thought my opponent was playing Gush or Grixis, and he was playing Oath, so I took out all my Leylander Voids, and yeah. Oh well.
There we go. Okay, so Mind Stone coming down. Are we sure this is not EDH? Are we watching EDH? Oh no, there's a Mox. No EDH for Mox.
No.
Zozu, no. Ankh of Mishra. Hellspark Elemental. So that's just another creature lightning bolt variant. That's going to come down, hit him hard, and go away for a turn.
Yep.
Smokestack, one of my favourite cards in Vintage. Now, have we got the lists here?
I got distracted by the Sanders.
I'm sure the Sanders will be changed quickly. Hellspark coming back. Another 3.
I have 1, but not for this.
Which do we have?
The other match. Okay.
Okay, so
get this going.
now this is a very explosive start from Lachlan here, going up to a Cold Author Forge Master. That's going to let him play basically anything he wants to do. Go get anything. Are there any big bots in his list? Blightsteel, perhaps? I doubt it. Phyrex and Metamorph is... Mere Battlesphere is definitely there. He can go and get that. He can also go get Mindslaver and start using Keenan's artifacts against him. But he doesn't have long. That represents... That Sulfuric Vortex represents a 5-turn clock, and the red deck that's focused on burn, that's a lot less than a 5-turn clock.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, sacrifices his land to the smokestack, ramps the smokestack. Always fair. Symmetry is fair. Lachlan electing to keep the Mana Crypt in play for an additional turn. So it's clear here that the smokestack trigger is on the stack. He's probably going to tap down, try and play an instant of some description. Char you, 4 to you, 2 to me.
Yep.
That's the red shifted Psionic Blast, which is always the better card.
Yeah.
Pitches to force.
That's pretty handy.
Sacrifices the 2 lands are used to cast the Char. His opponent's on 5, that's a 3-turn clock here. If at end of turn Lachlan decides to crack and go get Battlesphere, that's enough. So Keenan needs an additional land here. He needs the land and a burn spell.
Well, there's the land. Is there the burn spell as well? Passing the turn.
Okay, he may have end of turn burn spell. Otherwise, I don't think that was correct there. Just playing a permanent into a smokestack on 2 when you only have 1 permanent.
Yep.
I'm going to assume here that he has a lightning bolt and he's just jumping Lachlan.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the Mind Stone, the Mox, and the land, the Darksteel land. Seems good. Platinum Angel. Should have looked for that.
Yeah.
So in addition to beating this smokestack, he's going to have to deal 4 damage to the Platinum Empyreon. He does still put down his life total. Interesting he hasn't got a... So that's a Platinum Angel. Interesting he doesn't have a Platinum Empyreon in there, which I think would be slightly stronger against burn. But he's going to swing for 4 in the air. Keenan going down to 10. Suddenly Sulfuric Vortex looking like it's going to be against him, even though his opponent was on 9 and he was on 17 when he cast it.
It's hard to turn quite quickly in Magic. Land.
Electing to play a land again. He played a land last turn. The smokestack just got rid of it for no value. With the smokestack gone now, Fire Blast basically wins here. So Lachlan is on 1 here after the Sulfuric Vortex. So if he goes land Fire Blast or anything that can deal 4 damage to that Platinum Empyreon, or destroy, and Ingot Chewer here wins the game. Unfortunately, he doesn't have it. He realizes that he is dead next turn to the swing from the Platinum Empyreon plus the hit from the Sulfuric Vortex. And we'll be updating those deck lists very quickly, so we have the proper names there. On the other table, we do have 2 players. We've got Dom, who's playing...
What's it?
Esper midrange, so he's running the Ancestral Recall, Jace, Merchant Scroll, and... he's running the Skullclamp, Steel Shaper's Gift, True Name Nemesis, Stoneforge Mystic package.
Categories.
James Dowling, on the other hand, is one of our 6 USA players, so blue, red, white control. He is playing with the Splitter Twin combo. And your usual Blood Moon package to go with that. Well, Blood Moon looks like it'd be a pretty good thing here, provided he can get rid of these creatures that will be hitting into him. For those who have just tuned in, you've tuned into the Australian National Highlander Masters.
Oh, yeah.
Are we going for
Masters.
National Champion?
No, I think that's Delta at CanCon.
That's Delta at CanCon.
Yep.
Okay,
well, it's a Masters. It's a Highlander Master.
This is the Highlander Masters, hosted by Next Level Games and being streamed by Sneak and Show. So we will be looking at... We are looking at Game 1, I believe, between Dom, M and Jimbo. Jimbo, a rather well-known judge in the Australian magic
Yes,
scene. Not
yes.
quite a Fry, who is
No.
also here today.
No one can be a Fry.
Even Fry can't
Even
be Fry.
Fry. You spat muffins too much.
Okay, so showing that he could have the combo right now. Plenty of white sauces up, so he does elect to tap down a white sauce, and that's going to be sourced.
Little misstep.
Lovely foil misstep.
I wonder if we've got any foiled out decks today.
Nothing running dual lands.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And here's the combo.
It doesn't need the...
Our modern players will be very familiar with 1,000,001 Splitter Twins running into them.
Yep.
Okay, so Jimbo is going to take that 1-0 in addition to our first match being won by the Mud deck run by Lachlan Saunders, and we'll probably jump back to that as soon as those guys have finished sideboarding. Okay, drawing their hands. Keenan down a game, Lachlan up a game.
So just looking at the opening hands, see if they'd like to get
Keenan
this open.
looking at a Black Lotus Ball Lightning hand.
Ooh.
No other lands. Though that is a Shrine of Burning Rage, which is something amazing in the mono red decks. It was played a little bit in standard when it was there, but it looks like he's going to go down. He's not going to keep the no land Lotus.
No.
Needs mana sources. He does have 20 mountains. Imagine if mountains were pointed.
Oh, 17 mountains.
17 mountains. Our other mono red deck, also at 2-1, I believe, is running the full 20 mountains.
Yes, yep. We've got 17 mountains, a barbarian ring. I think that's it for lands for him.
So looking at the mono red deck, what is he bringing in against the basically mono artifact deck? Definitely he's got to be bringing in the Shattering Spree.
Yep.
He's definitely going to be bringing in Pulverize. But beyond that, do you bring in Ensnaring Bridge? Do you bring in Flame Slash?
I wouldn't think so.
Do you bring in Leyline of Punishment?
Don't think he has much.
Cheer up, I'm not sure exactly why you're getting lag. We'll get someone to look into that, but it shouldn't be too laggy. Turn 1 Metalworker, representing a lot of mana unless the red deck can put 2 cards in its graveyard and activate the Grim Lavamancer, or simply burn it from hand. Keldon Marauders, ping you for 1. Fire and Lightning All-Star. What's he going to reveal here? Six mana. 7 mana if he wants to play that artifact land. 8-9 with the City of Traders. He does have 3 cards in hand. So the Keldon Marauders can still attack into the Lodestone Golem, potentially offering a trade. Not anymore. Keenan wondering how he can actually get rid of 3 very big threats for a lot of his creatures. Obviously the Metalworker is huge at being able to constantly give Lachlan mana. The Lodestone Golem is a big body, also making all his non-artifact spells cost more. And the Ensnaring Bridge, which is just going to stop him from attacking with anything he does manage to get down if Lachlan manages to empty his hand.
Yep.
A Revoker coming
Revoker.
down, most likely going to be naming that Grim Lavamancer.
Yep.
Ball Lightning looking very bad in the face of Ensnaring Bridge. I think he's put the token on the wrong thing, but
Yeah.
Ensnaring Bridge is not naming Grim Lavamancer.
Yep, there we go. The Revoker naming Grim Lavamancer. Yes.
Kanan not looking in a really good spot at the moment.
Yep.
The mud deck was interesting. I wasn't expecting it to turn up in force. There's usually one or two mud pilots, and you can pick them out, you know, in a crowded room because they're the one with they play mud in every format they can. But it looks like the camera guys have brewed up a pretty spicy meatball.
Yep, the former National Highlander champion JD, I think, opted for this deck to be choice, and
You do need to use his full name. Former National Highlander and current vintage champion.
Current vintage master.
Current vintage
Jacob
champion
Dunn.
Jacob Dunn.
It's quite a mouthful. Yeah, they decided that this would be good. Well, then the other gentleman opted to
Is
use
that a
this deck as well.
trading post coming into play? He's going to trade life for goats.
Yes, there are some goat tokens.
He can create goats. And no creatures can attack this turn. Okay, I think that's a... I'm going to just say that that's a burn spell of some description. I think it's the one that costs 2 or red, 2 or red, 2 or red. Searing Spear?
Searing Blood?
Flame Javelin, I believe. Okay, so that trading post for those not looking. So what that'll do is that is 1 and tap, discard a card. Lachlan will gain 4 life. Very, very good against the mono red deck, particularly with the ability to empty his hand under the Ensnaring Bridge. 1 and tap, pay 1 life, put a goat token onto the battlefield. 1 tap, sacrifice a creature, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. So that's probably why it's in the main deck, and then just the life is gravy. 1, sacrifice an artifact, draw a card. And Kargan Dragonlord's going to come down. So the Metalworker's gone, that's not casting anything else. The Phyrexian Revoker's now gone, both hit by burn spells. And Buried Ruin can just get them back here. If he gets a Crucible out, he can use Buried Ruin and Crucible, which is just regrowth every turn on your best artifact.
Yep.
Thran Dynamo, just giving him a bit more mana. Emptying his hand for the Ensnaring Bridge. It's just all golden here for Lachlan. Unless Blood Moon comes down. Lachlan electing to immediately cash in his Buried Ruin back for the Phyrexian Revoker. Not much damage dealt this game.
Not really, no.
Besides the scoop phase, what's Lachlan building to here? Is there a way he can win without attacking here? He can smokestack down his opponent's board to nothing. He can Mindslaver and just point all the burn spells at himself. Staff of Nin. He wants to find a Staff of Nin and just ping Keenan every turn.
Yep.
And that'll come back down on the Grim Lavamancer. Trinisphere, the ultimate let's have fun card.
Yes.
Let's play together.
I think it was looking very forward to playing that card this morning.
Oh, Trinisphere is an amazing card.
Yeah.
Nothing says I want to have fun with you more than casting a Trinisphere on the first turn.
Yeah.
I want to have fun. You don't. Your fun is not required.
No.
Can just level him up. If he gets through the ensnaring bridge, Lachlan doesn't have any flying defense, so the Kargan Dragonlord can end him very quickly if it is a very high level and does get through.
Yep.
Lachlan just trading in his land for an extra card draw. And we've just got a result from the other table. Jimbo on the USA twin deck has defeated Dominic on the kind of Esper mid-range. So he's now sitting pretty at 4-0 and may be able to double ID in or just bash for breakers. So he's definitely going to be in the top 8, and he's been working on that deck for quite a while, and congratulations to him. For Dominic, it's not the end of the world though. He's not quite on the bubble yet, and he could definitely win another round, possibly ID into a low top 8 position, or he can just bash through and come in quite high still with only one loss. And there the pink elephants are coming down. The pink elephants have come down. That is a absolutely killer card. So that's going to cost him 3 under the Trinisphere to destroy all artifacts on the table, leaving Lachlan's only non-land as a goat token. Unless he wants to sacrifice to make another goat token right now. And he even loses one of his lands and 3 mana off his Thran Dynamo. And this is where pumping that Kargan Dragonlord was relevant earlier.
Yeah, man.
Yep, sacrifice. Is he drawing a card or is he making a goat? He's going to draw a card. Untap it with Voltaic Key, do it again. Get back up to 3 cards in hand. Pulverize, a very, very hard deck to play in Vintage, even though it has such a powerful effect against your mud playing opponent. Being able to guarantee that you have 2 mountains in play is very, very difficult for a lot of blue decks that might want that effect. However, in mono red, 17 mountains, get rid of 2, you've still got plenty of gas.
Yes.
Lachlan Saunders not looking quite so good right now.
No. The tide does seem to have turned.
And that's a ball lightning in his hand. If he draws another mountain, Kargan Dragonlord's swinging over for plenty. Look, he's definitely going to take 2 right now, or maybe even his goat might take 2, depending on how it works, but the Grim Lavamancer is now active again. Goat token blocking the Stromkirk Noble. And Lachlan only on 7. This is a very dire situation for him. Unfortunately, Keenan did not draw or doesn't have the land, so he's not going to be able to ball lightning him right here.
Yeah. 5 goes to 2.
And Lachlan goes down. The pink elephants managed to crush all the way through his dominating board presence there, all the way to go through and just sit there and do nothing. As Keenan's creatures that were sitting on the board the whole time
finally got to play.
Weren't able to do anything. And we're going to go to game 3 here. So Keenan is going to double check. Both players are going to double check their sideboards, what they're bringing in, what they're taking out, having had a better look at each other's decks. But I think we're going to look at the room again. We don't have much time in the round. We're going to have that exactly checked out by the crew there. We have 24 minutes left. For those of you who have just tuned in, you're watching the Next Level Games Eternal Masters event, the Australian 7-point Highlander list. So we've got 57 players here for the Australian 7-point Highlander. This is a singleton format and uses a list of cards worth various points between 1 and 4. And each deck is able to use a maximum of 4 points.
7.
I need some food. Over this event, we have had plenty of
Magic cards being played. Yeah.
We've had plenty of Magic cards being played. We've had a 50-player sanctioned Vintage event. We had a 67-player sanctioned Legacy event, and this is our 57-player Highlander event.
It's very good show out numbers for.
If you do need to check out exactly where this, if you do like the look of this format and want to try it, go to www.auseternal.com and you should be able to find all the information there regarding Australian 7-point Highlander.
And most deck lists that we play here for Highlander and Vintage and Legacy.
Yeah, a lot of the older deck lists. There was a craze with making deck lists. I'll go 4 or 5 years ago now. This format has been around all the way since the mid 2000s.
Naughties.
The noughties.
Yep.
So who are you going for? Are you going for Canberra or are you going for Burn?
Canberra all the way. Though I do like Burn, but
I'm going for Burn just because it's Burn. And anyone playing mono red in a singleton format has just got to dip down into some really, really unique cards.
Yeah. Well, I do have to travel home with the Canberra people, so I wouldn't like.
You want them to be happy.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not for you; it's all for them.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to be left behind.
And that is a Zozu the Punisher in the top of his hand. That is exactly why I wanted this match on.
Yep, that's easy.
Zozu the Punisher, Ankh of Mishra. He's probably going to go down though because it only has 1 mountain.
Yeah.
Jackal Pup Go is not too good in the face of Lodestone.
No.
Looks like Lachlan Saunders has also elected to go down to 6. I don't think the mud deck's going to mulligan as well as the red deck. The red is very... Obviously, all its card power levels are at a very similar level, whereas the shop deck is going to be really reliant on something that makes a lot of mana early.
To ramp them up. Mud deck.
And that ensnaring bridge doing a lot of work for Lachlan there. He actually, today, he originally had a Maze of Ith in that slot, which would not have done as much as the ensnaring bridge did in the previous game.
Yeah, the Maze of Ith replacing the Tabernacle of Pendle Vale in the upper slot.
Yep, so having that ensnaring bridge, while it didn't win him the game, did slow down Kanan a lot. And it looks like both players have elected to keep their 6s.
Yep.
Lachlan on the play. Mountain, Mana Crypt, Lightning Greaves. See, if this was a Vintage event, I'd be whoa, Mountain, interesting. Okay, but there's a Metalworker coming out next turn.
Yep.
Goblin Guide, Swing. Is that a Kerr Keep? I believe that was a Kerr Keep. He can make all the 0/1s he wants.
Yep. Huh?
Lachlan going with the odds burns. Deciding after he rolled.
I'm sure he probably would have announced it before he rolled.
Forge Master equip. He can choose to attack here, or he can choose to activate that. He does have the 3 artifacts in play. However, he can't use it and swing with something hasty because the Lightning Greaves is one of those artifacts. And this is what he's wondering about right now. If he loses the Mana Crypt and the Lightning Greaves, he can go get a Mere Battlesphere. The tokens will be able to chump the Goblin Guide, or at least he can swing back for 10 damage a turn.
Yep.
And that is a 2-turn clock. Or he may have another... No, elects not to attack and elects not to go get something. We did see this in the last game with Lachlan with a pretty dominant board position over Keenan, and then Keenan just being able to put some pink elephants onto the table, pulverizing his opponent's cards, you may say.
Yes, yep. Bye-bye artifacts.
Again, Lachlan Saunders electing not to activate the... I suppose it does give it Shroud, and it's against Burn and may have... So he's using it for the Shroud rather than the haste.
Yep.
Wormcoil Engine is one card that he could definitely be going for, which would be amazing against the mono red list. And it looks like he is indeed activating that. Getting lots of mana. And because he activated that Thran Dynamo before he sacrificed it, he does still have 3 mana impulse, so... Could we be seeing a Mindslaver here? Go get Mindslaver, 6 mana.
Yeah, it's possible.
Actually, Mindslaver's only 4.
Yeah. So...
Tap 1 land, burn out his creatures. Steel Hellkite.
Sweet.
We had in our Legacy yesterday, we had a story of a Mud player playing against Merfolk and keep 0 lands and a Steel Hellkite, and the Steel Hellkite just going and playing on turn 4 Steel Hellkite, and the Merfolk player not countering it, and only had 2 power creatures in play.
Oof.
Because it's Mud, no Island Walk, blocked 1, took 4, went down to 2, swang, activated for 2. The Merfolk player didn't quite realise what was happening until 3 turns later.
Yeah. So that's Keenan going down to 13. Mighty Swing from Lachlan.
Keenan here, without anything else, is only on a 2-turn clock between the Hellkite and the... He can't turn it into a 1-turn clock, he doesn't have enough mana. Pink Elephants. He's not going to cast it. Needs to pay 3 for the Trinosphere. Pink Elephants off the top. No pink elephants.
No.
No free destroy your entire board.
Yep.
And that's it. Lachlan Saunders on shall we call it Canberra Mud?
Yes.
Canberra Mud
Sounds
making his way through to 4-0. He may be able to double ID into the top 8.
Mhm.
Otherwise, he's probably going to bash for breakers.
Yep. The top seed.
But we're definitely going to be seeing him again later on. For the next couple we have been following the top players for this. The top players, because of tournament logistics, are probably going to do what top players do in tournaments.
Yep.
So what we're going to be doing for the next couple of rounds is following those on the bubble, those at X1, those at X11,
X01.
X01. So we'll be following those players, and we hope to see you soon. Welcome back to everyone to Next Level Games Eternal Masters Weekend. We're here for the Highlander event going into round 5 of 6. I'm Joshua Butler. I'm here with Laura Ellis.
Hello.
And we're just going to get down into the game. We're very quick. We did manage to start just a little late, so the players are just drawing their 7s here. The auto should join you very quickly. We're not quite sure what's going on with the internet quality. We've got something looking into that, but I think it's just the Australian connecting up to Twitch's main server at the moment. Hopefully it'll clear up very soon. On our left we do have Rupa, who we saw earlier on the mono red deck. He's playing against Jeremy Cafes, who is on a 4-colour zoo deck. So he's just playing all the colours in the world except for, I believe, blue. So it's non-blue zoo. Or am I wrong?
I think that's what it is.
Yep, so he's playing the usual kind of... it's slightly higher than your standard Sioux lists. While he does have the Loam Lion, Dryad Militant, he's added to include things like Strangle Rootgeist, Deathrite Shaman, Gore Clan Rampager, Skullclamp, Noble Hierarch, but he does go all the way up to Elspeth, so he does go a little bit higher on the mana curve than your traditional fast Zoo lists. And both of these players are currently on the bubble. So a win here means that they may be able to ID, they may have to bash, but at this point they have to play for the win. Neither of these players were able to comfortably ID in. They both have at least one loss. On our second table, we do have Isaac Egan, a points committee member for Australian Highlander. He's running the Bant Clamp deck, and he's versing Matthew Larkham, who's running a Tezzeret list. Very artifact-based, but still has the colours, unlike the previous artifact list we saw run by Lachlan Saunders, who is in fact currently in a mirror match with another Canberra local.
Yes. And I got news about that. It was... the list was made up by Lachlan Saunders, not Jacob Dunn.
Not former Highlander champion and current vintage champion Jacob Dunn?
No, it was Lachlan Saunders. But I have a feeling that they may ID and try and get in that way.
Okay, they may be... with both of them knowing each other, not wanting to knock each other out. Do we have Jeremy's list?
Should be here.
Okay, so we'll run that in there. Yeah, so this is Rupa Red, 20 mountains.
Yeah, this is the one that we were talking about earlier.
So your usual cards of Eidolon of the Great Revel, Stormblood Berserker, Burning Tree Emissary, Ash Zealot, Lightning Berserker, Rakdos Cackler, Figure of Destiny, Monastery Swiftspear, just all the fast, low-cost red cards. They're going to deal a lot of damage very quickly. I think he's actually going to have a bit of an advantage in this. All the extra burn spells he's got are going to be able to fight through the, albeit slightly bigger creatures Jeremy has. Yeah. And because Jeremy is that little bit slower and using more kind of permanent removal spells, he may just be overwhelmed by what Rupa can put onto the board.
Yeah.
That being said, if the game does go nice and long, Jeremy obviously has the much better high-end Garrick Relentless, Elspeth Nidoran, much better than Gore. Oh, let's find something.
Chandra.
Oh, he does have a Chandra Pyromaster, so he does actually have a cost of 4.
Yeah.
There we go, and that is a very nice card. That is going to put a lot of damage onto the board, making a dude every turn, getting them swinging in. Nice and hard. Suddenly Kurt Ape doesn't look as good.
No. Change to the rocks.
Chain to the Rock's not really playable in a lot of other formats. The ones where you have mountains and white cards, you're generally looking at something like a Legacy or Vintage, and the problem with that is Wasteland's around in those formats. Yeah. Wasteland with a point in Highlander is going to cause a little bit of trouble, but it is pointed.
Strip mine with 2.
The list of players are playing right now, High GL, High Good Luck. They're not actually available because this tournament is going on right now. They will be available online. But for generic Australian 7-point Highlander lists, you will be able to find them at auseternal.com. That's AUSETERNAL.com. And those lists date back quite a while. You'll be able to find a lot of lists there, not just the ones we have here, but also lists from past.
Like the League in Canberra?
Yeah, so the League in Canberra lists, all that kind of stuff. Ruper, having signed many of his cards that we can see, he owns this deck. He's not lending this out.
Yeah.
We had a player around here, Michael Lau, used to do the same thing. I've got M. Lau signed Liliana of the Vales.
Oh, is it on the cards or on the sleeves?
On the card.
On the card.
I have M. Lau signed Lilianas.
Probably got quite a good value, right? There's probably not a lot of them.
Is that a Hellrider? That is a 4 cost. That is going to hit him very hard should it be able to attack. And that may just be lethal. He's definitely counting it up.
Yep, here he goes for it.